Upfront and Outspoken with Bob Williams. If you love the Constitution,
man is not free unless government is limited.
If you love freedom,
as government expands, liberty contracts.
If you believe in personal responsibility, if you believe America is still the greatest nation on earth, then get ready for an experience you'll never forget. This is Upfront and Outspoken. Here's your host, Bob Williams.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, they're red, white, and blue.
And welcome back. This is Upfront Outspoken. Of course, I'm your host, Bob Williams, with you here on this Wednesday. Of course, now it's time for my weekly rant. That's right, my weekly rant. And what am I talking about today? I'm talking about the fine print. That's right, the fine print. How many times have you gone to the doctor, been prescribed a medication, taken it in, got it refilled, talked to the pharmacist, and he actually gives you the side effects to the medication you are taking? How would you like to have a medication that has these, these side effects: blurred vision, confusion, dizziness along with faintness or lightheadedness, sweating, unusual tiredness or weakness, burning, crawling, itching, numbness, prickling or pins and needles and tingling feelings, confusion about identity, place, and time, decreased concentration, fainting, general feeling of discomfort or illness, headache, lack of coordination, muscle tremors, nervousness, pounding in the ears, shortness of breath, slow or fast heartbeat, swelling, skin rash, unusual excitement, dry mouth, muscle or bone pain, trouble sleeping, trouble with remembering, unpleasant taste, constipation, continuing ringing and buzzing, diarrhea, hearing loss, muscle aches, pains, weight loss, and sexual issues. How would you like to have a medication like that? And yet this particular medication, that's right, this particular medication is widely prescribed as an antidepressant. The medication, trazodone. That's right, trazodone. And how do I know this? Because anyone that's been following my plight with my wife knows that she suffered, we found out she was finally diagnosed as having anxiety. And this is the medication that her doctor, or I shouldn't say her doctor, but a nurse practitioner prescribed for her. I already knew about some of these side effects, and when I told her about it, she said, no thanks. Thanks, but no thank you. So she just declined that. How many times have you read the fine print? How many times have you researched the medications you are taking? How many times is it going to take before people realize that sometimes the medication and the side effects to that medication are far worse than the illness or problem itself? How many times? But yet this is what millions of Americans go through every day. You are prescribed a medication and you have no clue as to the side effects. You just take it for granted. The doctor knows what they're doing and take the medication. You get it filled without asking the questions, without asking the tough questions, without reading, quote unquote, the fine print. How many times? Well, fortunately for my wife, and being a journalist, I am going to research these medications. And she was prescribed 2 other ones as well. But at least with the other 2 that she was prescribed for her anxiety, the most serious side effect to them is the fact that it does cause dry mouth. And it does cause drowsiness. That's the side effects of the other 2. None other. And for that, I got to, thank our nurse practitioner for finally getting her on a medication that's going to help her. But they wanted her to take this one as well. And you just heard a little bit ago the side effects. She would not have known it. She would not have known it if I hadn't raised the alarm, so to speak. But yet millions of Americans out there today are being prescribed medications that you do not know what all the side effects are. Allergic reactions, all of this. How many of you actually know the true side effects, possible side effects, and serious side effects of the medication you're taking? How many of you actually have sat back and asked those tough questions? And I'll bet you very few of you have. And the thing is, what disturbed me most about this nurse practitioner, and I'm not going to deny one bit that I'm upset. Trazodone, if anybody knows, is used as an antidepressant. That's right, an antidepressant. Why would you prescribe an antidepressant to someone who suffers from anxiety? There are medications out there for people that suffer anxiety. But why would this particular individual prescribe Trazodone? Why? Knowing that you just diagnosed your patient with an anxiety problem, a temporary anxiety problem, and yet you're willing to put them on this type of a medication. But that's not the issue. The issue at hand here today is you getting involved, reading the fine print, researching the side effects of this medication, and then determining for yourself, is this what I want? And then if you don't want this, going back to your doctor, going back to your nurse practitioner, going back to your psychiatrist or whatever that prescribed that medication, say, hey, whoa, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me all these side effects? It seems the cure is worse than the problem, and I don't want it. I want a medication that doesn't have these issues. I want a medication that's going to work, yes, but I do not want a medication that's going to have countless side effects. We all want that. We all want to get better. That's a given. Anyone on a medication, an antibiotic, a psychotropic medication, a sleep aid, we all want to get better. There's no doubt about it. That's just human nature. But when you come up with all of this, and I can go through here and find countless other medications, it's unbelievable. But it bothers me when doctors fail in their responsibility to inform you of these side effects. The only way you're going to know about them is by asking. The drug companies aren't going to tell you. They're going to put it in very small print if they can get around it about the potential side effects. Or they're going to list a couple that don't sound too bad, but when you go into it and you actually do the research, you're going to find out, guess what? Why didn't they tell me? And that's what happened when I decided to, do a little homework and found all these side effects to this drug called Trazodone. And mind you, it was prescribed for my wife because she has anxiety, not depression, anxiety. And this is an antidepressant. And yet you heard a little bit ago all of its side effects. Why would you want to take a medication for anxiety that is actually an antidepressant and in fact has all of these side effects? Side effects that she would not have been made aware of. How many of you have, like I said at the very beginning, how many of you have gone to your doctor, been prescribed a medication, The doctor says, well, this is used for this. You might get this, and you may get that. And if you do, please do this or follow these steps. But they're not going to tell you every single side effect. And then you take that medication, you go to your pharmacist, you have it filled. Your pharmacist asks you, well, have you ever taken this medication before? He may say no. And the pharmacist says, well, this is what you have to do. Okay? This is what you have to do. This is the dosage you have to take, or this is the number of pills you have to take per day, blah, blah, blah. Have a nice day. You're on your way. How many times have you sat there with that pharmacist and says, I want to see the complete list of side effects? How many of you have done that? You do know that is your right, correct? Or are we just so simply that trusting of our doctors and our pharmacists that we think, okay, they know what's good for me. They think they know my body. They might know your body, they might know your physical symptoms, but they do not tell you all of this other, unless you get very specific. So I'm urging everybody, before you take that first dose, when that doctor first decides he's going to prescribe it, you say, I want to see all of the side effects of that medication. I want to see it in black and white. And if he refuses to do so, do your homework. Go on the internet. It's simple. All you have to do is type in the medication name and say side effects. And I got news for you. You'd be surprised at what you're going to find. Things that your doctor, your pharmacist are not going to tell you unless you find out for yourself. No doctor that I know of is going to tell you every single possible side effect unless you start hammering home the fact that you want to know what side effects that medication has. So I encourage you, before you take a medication, before you are, you walk out of there with that prescription, you have the facts in hand. And then you make the decision. Read, as I said, the fine print. You do when you buy a car. You do when you buy a house. You do for other things when you get your credit cards. You always read the fine print, but yet we fail to read the fine print when it comes to medications prescribed to us. Why? Why would we not do the same for our medications as we would do when we buy a house or buy a car or get a credit card? Why do we take it for granted? Makes you wonder. I want to hear from you. I really do. I want to hear from my listeners across the globe how many times you have just simply got that prescription, went down, got it filled, went home, never checked. Simply email me at kkrp1610@yahoo.com. I really want to know how many of you out there actually have not asked or researched the side effects of the medication that a doctor, psychiatrist, nurse practitioner decides to give you. How many times has that happened to you? And I got news for you. I've got some bad news for you. I bet you 10 to 1 odds I'm going to get countless emails that tell me, Bob, you're right. I never asked. I never thought of it. But yet you do. You read that fine print when you buy a car, a house, or whatever. We all do. I do. I did when I bought my house. I did. I read the fine print. Common sense. And I'm certain that you probably did as well. You went ahead and read the fine print. But yet we fail to do that when it comes to the medications doctors prescribe to us. We do not read that fine print. We do not ask the doctor the tough questions. Why? Why? Why do we fail to do that? And I just don't understand it. For me, asking the tough questions comes easy. And you can ask every doctor that my wife knows or every doctor that I have to see. They hate me. They hate it when I walk into that room with my wife for an exam. They hate it when I go in and talk to my doctor on my physicals. Why? Because as a journalist, I question things. I want answers. But that's me. The average American doesn't think twice. They just go in, get their exam because they have an ailment, get the prescription from the doctor, and out the door you go. You go to the pharmacist, get it filled. The pharmacist tells you, this is your dose. This is what you have to take. You got to drink it with plenty of water. Boom. Hello. Nice day. Talk to you later. Every single American needs to question your doctors, your pharmacists. Tell them, I want to see the side effects. And like I said at the top of the hour, the medication that was prescribed for my wife is an antidepressant. It doesn't address her anxiety issue, but yet she was also given 2 other medications that do specifically target her anxiety. I mean, she had an episode, and this is going to get her back to 100%, and thank God it's going to do that. The side effects to the 2 that she have are, basically she's going to get drowsy. She's going to be required to probably drink a lot of fluids because she's going to get dry mouth. But as far as any side effects, they're minimal. They're minimal. But yet when they turned around and gave her this medication, this trazodone, I had a hunch because at one time a friend of mine was on it and he had side effects. So as soon as I heard that and seen the prescription for trazodone, I knew mentally there were issues. So I told my wife about it and she says, no dice. Nope, not happening. I do not want those side effects. And you heard them. You heard them at the beginning of the hour. You heard them. A lot of them. The cure is worse than the problem. Why would you give a person an antidepressant for an anxiety episode is beyond me. But that's not what this is about today. That's not what this is about. It's not about, what particular medication was prescribed or why it was prescribed or anything like that. It's the fact that I want to get everybody involved in this. You need to get involved. You need to ask the questions. You need to do what I do, and that's ask the hard questions. What are the side effects to the medication you are being ordered? Not just the short list, the entire list. And I've got news for you. You may not like what you are going to see. And at that point in time, you need to go back to your doctor, your nurse practitioner, your psychiatrist, and say, whoa, wait a minute here. Why did you not tell me this when I asked you to? You need to get involved. You need to get involved in your health care. You need to ask the tough questions. You need to read that fine print. Don't take it for granted. Don't assume. Get the facts. Find out before you take any medication whatsoever. Because like I said, you're going to be amazed at what you find. And many times, many times over, you're probably going to sit there and say, whoa, wait a minute here. I may not want to take this because of all of these effects. So there has got to be something better, something that addresses the same issue that the doctor wants me to take care of, but a medication that does not have all of these side effects. You need to be involved, folks. It's that simple. And I want to hear from you. Do not sit there on your laurels and say, well, the doctor knows better. I want to hear from you. Send me an email, kkrp1610@yahoo.com. I want to hear from you. How many times have you gone in and literally trusted your doctor thinking they know what is best for you and you not reading the fine print. How many? I know it's happened millions of times over because we assume. And you know what they say about assume? You're making an ass out of you and me. So I'm telling you, ask the questions, get involved, read the fine print, and then if you don't like what you see, confront your doctor and tell them, I want a medication that doesn't have these side effects, but yet addresses the problem I have. Sorry, doc, it's not going to happen. And with that, it is time for me to get out of here. Stay tuned because coming up right after NPR News, Ed Till will be with you all the way to 4 o'clock. Until tomorrow, 6 a.m., this is Bob Williams. Take care of yourselves.